Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Mirandasya Jananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Kamam ashritya duspyoham Dambamana matandata Mohadriti vashagraham Pravartante suchivrataha. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work attracted by the impermanent. Tonight we are reading from the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled The Divine and the Demoniac Natures. Krishna herein is explaining the qualities that within the age of Kali Yuga are very much mixed within everyone's hearts. Our eternal nature is divine. We are all part of Krishna. We are all of the same spiritual substance as Krishna. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that pure love of Krishna is within the heart of every living being. But it is covered. It is covered by forgetfulness of our eternal and true identity as being Krishna's eternal servants. And in that forgetfulness, we want to enjoy separate from Krishna. We want to live independent of the will of Krishna. And this condition is the cause of all suffering. Although the basic principle of our consciousness is that we seek enjoyment, we do not understand what real enjoyment is. This is called ignorance, or Maya. Srila Prabhupada defined that Maya means that which is not. What we think is the cause of pleasure is actually the seed of pain. And what we think is the cause of pain is actually the seed by which the flower of real enjoyment will blossom. Human life is meant for tapasya. Tapo divyam putra kayena sadvam sudhyedyasam kamasodyam. Tapasya means the willingness to forego, to put aside our egoistic pursuits for selfish pleasure, for higher principle, for pleasing Krishna. Pleasing Krishna in the beginning often means to deny ourselves of what our mind and senses are expecting. The mind is such a thing that we have trained and conditioned from so many births, like a spoiled child, to always get its way. And under the dictation of the five senses, the mind is constantly dragging our consciousness to lower and lower stratums. You see, in the animal civilization, the living entity simply follows the dictations of the senses and the mind with no power to discriminate. The animals are slaves of their mind and senses. They have no power to question or to resist. And they spend their lives eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, without question. And oftentimes, the spirit soul has to transmigrate through millions of such lower species before it comes to this human form. So we can understand just how we are conditioned, to what extent, to surrendering to our mind and our senses. And in this age of Kali Yuga, there's really virtually very little difference between the human species and the animals. Because in this age of Kali Yuga, people have no inclination toward renunciation or detachment. They are not taught how to control their mind and senses. In fact, they are taught, they are trained how to surrender to their mind and senses as the goal of life. In our educational institutions, we find sometimes our children, their spiritual propensities are slaughtered by the propaganda all around them. They are asked to perform so much tapasya in the form of studies. But the goal of their studies is the promise of greater sense enjoyment. Control your mind and senses now so that you can enjoy better in the future. So you can have the best possible material opulences to exploit. Guru Maharaj explained, the educational institutions these days are like spiritual slaughterhouses. There's so much bad association. Just teaching us how to perpetuate the same inclinations we have cultivated for millions of births as animals, to be the enjoyers. The human life is meant for self-realization. But we can understand how it is not surprising that our mind and senses are so difficult to control. Millions of births as animals, the soul surrendered to that tendencies. And through so many previous lives in this human species, just being trained and conditioned like the animals to be enjoyers of our mind and senses. And then we come to Krishna consciousness, and we hear Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna tells us that we are all wrong, that our whole existence and our whole civilization is based on an illusion, a mistake. But somehow or other, this is the situation we're in. And as Guru Maharaj used to say, we must make the best use of a bad bargain. Kalo Shudra Sambhave. People in the age of Kali are born like Shudras, in the sense, at the most, no culture. And even the so-called culture that we find is the culture of animals. We find in the so-called cultured societies of the world, they have so many refineries by which they enjoy the same pleasures as the animals. Advancement in civilization begins when we search for that spiritual platform of consciousness in which we can transcend the repetition of birth and death. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asitama vasehi asindriyani pasimraya. We must restrain our senses from those things which are not favorable for devotion to God. And we must somehow or other perform the austerity of engaging our senses in those activities which are favorable. So sometimes devotees think, why, even after practicing devotional activities, for many years, still my mind and senses are restless. And I have very little inclination to chant the holy names of God. Very little inclination to dance in kirtan, to read the scriptures. We have more inclination to watch the television. We have more inclination to read the newspapers and the magazines than to read the scriptures. We have more inclination to listen to the latest gossip about who did what and where and when than to hear the glories of the Lord's pastime. Why is this? It is no surprise. It is normal. Because you have been cultivating this for millions of births. And now we have to change our whole conception of reality if we want to take to the real spiritual path. And needless to say, in this age of Kali, we do not have support from the society. Or rather, they will misunderstand and criticize. In fact, they will see us as a threat. Threat to their a threat to their complacency for spiritual life. But this is to be expected. And we must be very diligent to understand what are the divine and what are the demoniac properties within ourselves. And to perform the austerity of serving those divine properties is absolutely neglecting, battling against those demoniac qualities. So here, Lord Sri Krishna is explaining how demoniac people, they take shelter of insatiable lust. Or, as the Sanskrit, kaman ashritya. When people are bored, when people are lonely, when people are fearful, when people are in a condition where they need shelter, they take shelter of the thought and the pleasures of sense enjoyment. We see this all around us and within us. People, when they can't sleep at night, in order to find some pacification of their mind, they take shelter of some form of sense gratification. Whether it be sex life, gross or subtle, or some other form of mundane entertainment. They have forgotten how to take shelter of Krishna. And it is explained that they are absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige. Please excuse me, but the voice can only do so much before it starts becoming like this. In this regard, there's a beautiful story which shows the extent that pride and prestige can illusion a person's consciousness. When Krishna was living physically in this world, in Vrindavan, one night, it was a beautiful night, in the forest, Krishna and Balaram began to have wonderful, wonderful pastimes with the damsels of Braja, the gopis. Tonight, we are in such a charming atmosphere. Very cool breezes, the light of the moon and the stars above, auspicious trees and flowers, and nice green soft grass to sit upon. It's a very charming atmosphere. But you can imagine how charming it was in the beautiful land of Vrindavan. On this moonlit evening, Krishna, Balaram and the gopis were enjoying dancing together. And there was beautiful, fragrant breezes from the malati flowers. And Krishna and Balaram, intoxicated by love, they began to sing melodious songs. And as they were singing, the vibration was so ambrosial that it utterly intoxicated the gopis with bliss. At that time, one of the associates of Kubera appeared on the scene. His name was Shankasura. And he was, as an associate of Kubera, from the same community, we can say. He was very, very wealthy. Tremendous wealth. And extremely influential. And because of this, he became very proud. It is the nature of this world. The more we have, the more we are under the illusion that we are the enjoyers. Because the more we have the power to enjoy. Krishna is the proprietor and the enjoyer of everything. And the more we accumulate in this world, the more we come under the illusion that I am the proprietor and I am the enjoyer. So wealth and prestige, Queen Kunti said, is a great spiritual disqualification. Unless we are extremely cautious, guided by very, very saintly association, we'll be victimized by what we are so hard working to attain. So Shankasura was like that. He had a beautiful jewel, precious jewel, that he would wear on his head, and it was shaped like a conch shell. That is why he was called Shankasura. And when he saw Krishna and Balaram with these beautiful, beautiful gopis of Braja, he naturally thought that these gopis should be enjoyed by me. Srila Prabhupada explains that people too much intoxicated by too much wealth and prestige, they cannot tolerate somebody else enjoying what they want. They think that all beautiful things, and especially beautiful women, should be for their enjoyment. We find this was the condition of Ravana also. Ravana was a very wealthy man. He had an entire kingdom which was made out of gold. And whatever he wanted, he would attain. But was he satisfied? In this material world, Krishna explains in Gita, that material desire, kama, is like fire. And the more fuel you feed a fire, the more the fire becomes outrageously hungry for more. It's never satisfied. It's never satiated. The more we have, the more we want. The more we acquire, the more we need to maintain what we have. It's an endless, vicious cycle. We know the story of the sage who was sitting on the bank of Ganga in his meditation. And he had nothing except one extra loincloth. And he would bathe in the river, and he would put his loincloth on the side of the bank of the river to dry. But every day a little mouse would come and start to eat the cloth. Somehow or other, mice like cloth. Srila Prabhupada once told us that one of his relatives had a cloth shop. And rats were coming, rats and mice, to eat the cloth. So what to do? So Prabhupada said, they are coming to eat the cloth. Why don't you just put a big plate of rice out every day and we'll eat the rice instead? Because rice costs less than cloth. That will solve your problem. So he did. And they would eat the rice and eat the cloth. But this man, all he had was cloth. So the mouse was eating his cloth. So he asked one of his friends, who was supposedly very wise, what should I do? He's disturbing my meditation. I'm trying to be in samadhi and I'm thinking about this mouse eating my cloth. Oh, that's simple. You should get a cat. The cat will chase the mouse away. And then you can meditate in peace. So he got a cat. And sure enough, the first day he was meditating in peace. There were no mice. But then, the cat was clawing him and pawing him. So he went back to the wise man. This cat is a greater disturbance than the mouse. Of course, because the cat needs milk. You have to feed the cat milk. So if you want to meditate nicely, you should simply get a cow and get the milk from the cow and feed the cat, and he'll keep the mouse away. Yes, this makes sense. So he milked his cow, and he fed the cat, and the cat guarded his loincloth, and he sat in meditation. The cow. He went back to the wise man. This cow is disturbing my meditation. It's because the cow wants somebody to milk her. Why don't you just get married and have a wife? And the wife will milk the cow, and then she'll feed the cat, and the cat will keep the mouse away, and you can meditate in peace. Yes, of course. Good advice. So he got married, and he had a nice wife, and she milked the cow very faithfully every day, and she fed the cat. And the cat scared the mouse away. And he was peacefully meditating for some time. And then, why don't you get a job? You lazy bum. You expect me to live on this riverbank for the rest of my life? You think I left my father's house for this? Who do you think I am? I want a sari, I want bangles, I want nice food. So he went to the wise man. He said, now what should I do? He said, you have to get a job. After all, you're married. You can't be an irresponsible grihastha. You have to be gainfully employed, work. So he got a job. And he was working 9 to 5. And then he came home. And by that time there was just the cow had so many calves, and the wife had so many demands. So he realized that I made a big mistake. The more you have in this world, the more you have to work to serve what you have. We're thinking that the more we have, the more those things will serve us. But it's just the opposite. We become the servant of that. And so many complications. So, one day he just left. And he took his second loincloth and he just threw it away. He threw it in the river. And he sat down and felt, yes, better to meditate in a wet loincloth than to go through all of that again. So Shankasura, he had great, tremendous wealth. And he was from such a high realm of society. He was actually from the heavenly abodes. Kuvera, the treasure of the demigods. So although he had so much, when he saw the beauty of the gopis, nothing gave him any satisfaction unless he had them too. Isn't it amazing? However much you have, when there's something you want, you don't think about how much I have, you only think about what I don't have. How I cannot be happy without this. Huh? Instead of thanking Krishna, thank you for all that you've given me, you're just praying to Krishna, give me something else. There's no peace without that. And we work like an ass for that. And then when we get it, we get tired of it. Soon. And then we want something else. This is material life. Sukha dukkha dha. Happiness, distress. Non-permanent appearance. So Sankashura was thinking out of its intoxication of pride that I will enjoy these gopis. So right in front of Krishna Balaram, while they were singing and dancing so nicely, he just took the gopis and started leading them in the northern direction, ordering them as they were his own property, as they were his own wives. You come with me, you go this way. And he started forcing them to go. And he started taking them deeper into the forest.